Here and Now, the program featuring the news and interests of the African American community. Here's your host, Sandra Bookman.
Coming up, a look at how cervical cancer disproportionately impacts Black women. Also ahead, the inclusive dance program, Everyone Belongs, at the National Dance Institute. We'll introduce you to the renowned choreographer and artist in residence leading the charge. Why legendary radio station WBGO is teaming up with the Jazz Power Initiative, and Meal Ticket, the documentary chronicling a basketball tradition, the McDonald's All-American Games. That's all ahead on Here and Now. Black women are 41% more likely to develop cervical cancer and 75% more likely to die from it. According to the World Health Organization, cervical cancer is one of the most treatable cancers when detected early. Here to tell us more is the medical director of ambulatory care at One Brooklyn Health System, Dr. Nanette Thomas. Thank you for sitting down with us today.
It's my pleasure.
An important topic, and we've never really talked a whole lot about cervical cancer here, and we like to stay on top of important health issues in the African American community. Why are Black women most at risk when it comes to cervical cancer?
Well, there are a number of reasons, and I think overall the African American community is still not convinced about current science. There are a lot of cultural reasons as to why they believe that things that they grew up with, heard about, will be better for them than anything that can be offered to them at a healthcare center. That and the fact that there is lack of access still. There's a difficulty with insurance, and we see now more than ever that there's going to be difficulty for a lot of our community to access care. So for those reasons and a few others.
But it's complex.
It is.
Because it depends on, I guess, who you're talking about specifically, and there seems like several different reasons why people don't get the care they need or can't get the care they need.
Right.
How is cervical cancer prevented? What is the best way to make sure doesn't become an issue?
Over the past 50 years, the incidence of cervical cancer has dropped by half. And a lot of that is because of the pap smears that are being done. We can discover cervical cancer early and treat it accordingly, treat it early and cure it. If cervical cancer is not caught early and it's already spread throughout the body, then the likelihood of someone being healed is only 20% as opposed to 90%. So when you mention that it's preventable, it's treatable only if caught early.
And are there signs that you should be looking for?
That's part of the problem. You really don't start becoming symptomatic until it has begun to spread. So the whole goal and why it's difficult to get young people to come in and be screened is that they're not symptomatic. They feel great, and they won't realize something's wrong until it's too late.
It's too late.
Right.
You know, speaking to you about this, we've done, I think, a good job of getting the word out about breast cancer when it comes to women.
Yes.
That it almost feels like you need a similar effort when it comes to cervical cancer.
Yes.
Because what's at stake is just as...
Right.
And what are the treatments?
Well, there is a hysterectomy, of course, to remove the cancer. Once it has spread outside of that organ, then you'll need chemotherapy, you may need radiation treatments. And all of those are very toxic to the body. So to avoid that and all the potential complications and side effects of those treatments, best to just go and get screened on a regular basis.
And is there an age where you should be start to get screened for cervical cancer?
Absolutely. I'll talk first about some of the risks as to why patients may develop cervical cancer. The biggest is that exposure to HPV virus.
Yes.
And with that, the younger you are, the less risk you have of having been exposed. And as you get older, through sexual intercourse, through multiple partners, through other things that may decrease your immune status, that will all put you at greater risk for developing cervical cancer. I think it's important to understand that the HPV vaccine, which was started in 2006, is also going to be extremely important in decreasing the likelihood of cervical cancer occurring. because if you eradicate HPV, you will not get cervical
lower
cancer.
the chances.
You lower your chances. So that's really what we're working toward, getting young people, typically between the ages of 9 and 12, to get their HPV vaccine. Once they've reached adulthood, a large group will say start at age 21 through 29, you'll begin having your cytology tests, your pap smears. Okay. Typically over the age of 25, you can start testing for HPV. So from 25 to 30, that would be more of the recommended treatment evaluation. Over the age of 30 to 65, there are 3 different ways that you can be tested. One is the pap smear. One is the HPV testing alone. And now they're also recommending what is called co-testing, both the pap smear and HPV. And when you are including HPV testing, you actually increase your likelihood of detecting the cancer. Okay. So that's really the focus at this time.
And are there symptoms of HPV?
No.
No. So, yeah. Again, why the screening is so important.
Absolutely.
And I know there's a program called Did You Check Yourself? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, at One Brooklyn Health, we were focused on trying to engage this young population to come in and be screened, because there are a whole host of preventive treatments that we are encouraging for our patients, but we noticed that we were really unable to engage this population. And we realized they're young, they're healthy, they're not having any symptoms. There are so many more things in their life that they're interested at this time. So how do we educate them? How do we help them understand? And one of the things that we did with our marketing team was to have the staff, we got them T-shirts, and it's Did You Check Yourself? And there are certain days of the week that we'll have them wear them and hope that the patients who are there will see, they'll question, what is it that you're doing? In order to engage our patients, we also have a list of patients who have missed their appointments, so we're constantly outreaching. We're sending them texts. We send them information about cervical cancer. And this year is our first year. We've finally reached a 5-star with our insurers because of all of the hard work that we're doing. But it's still not enough.
But the point is that you're doing it and you're getting people's attention. What you need other people to do is to join in with you.
Absolutely.
To do the same thing.
Absolutely.
OneBrooklynHealth.org, that's your website, right?
Yes.
And there's information on that about this program, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Did You Check Yourself?
Did You Check Yourself? It's every 3rd Saturday at our Bristol site.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us today to get the word out on this important issue.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Everyone Belongs on the Dance Floor is just one of the inclusive programs at the National Dance Institute. And now, renowned choreographer Jerron Herman, the 2025-26 Artist in Residence, known for centering disabled perspectives in his art, is focusing on NDI's dream, the Dancers Realize Excellence Through Arts and Movement project. Joining us today, choreographer Jerron Herman. What a pleasure it is to meet you.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. It's so nice to meet you, too.
And I love you even more because you laugh at my jokes.
Hey, but they're funny, they're funny.
Okay. Or you're just being very polite.
Oh.
So talk to me about the mission of NDI.
Yes. NDI, National Dance Institute, they really believe that the arts are essential to every child's education, regardless of where they might end up, in the arts or in their own personal lives. And so it's a right, you know, and I think from there, we all understand how the arts really fans out to be meaningful in all of our lives.
Yeah, and when you say everyone belongs on the dance floor, NDI means it.
Yes.
So what does that mean to you?
Oh, well, I mean, as a young person with a disability growing up, I was always looking for organizations and places where I could feel included. And I always knew I had something in me, a spark that I really wanted to express, and then I was always finding the places that could, you know, support me. NDI is already established to support young people who have that spark in them. Yeah. And so I find that it's really exciting, and it's always kismet, you know, when you're with, as an artist, with an organization that kind of knows and does the same things that you do.
Yeah, and it's about what you can do, not what you can't do.
Entirely.
And also what not not about what someone else's perspective is of what you can't do.
Yes.
I just love the whole idea behind the program.
Oh, I'm so happy.
So you're the artist in residence.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean to you personally?
Oh, wow. I mean, being called an artist in residence is always exciting because you get to respond to the place, to be a resident. You get to live up in their, up in their space the whole time and make meaningful connections with the organization. So I've been tasked or invited to create a new piece on the Dream dancers, as well as I interface with the organization through professional development and other ad hoc events and activities. And so it's really just fun to be in the business of NDI and be working with them this year creatively and through different projects.
And what is your hope for how, this project, how children will respond to this project, as well as other people dealing with disabilities?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I hope that the piece itself creates a model of how folks with or without disabilities operate together, to collaborate, to make meaningful translations in movement, and create parity. That we are similar in these really dynamic ways, and that through the arts we can make beautiful things happen.
Yeah, you make beautiful music with anyone. I'm just curious how young dancers, react and respond when they see you and others doing something that perhaps they hadn't been exposed to before, and honestly, in a lot of instances, maybe not even given much thought to.
For sure. I joined dance at 20 years old, not really having a sense of that being a career at all. But having the desire that it would be, if nothing else, an anecdote for the summer, that I could be a part of a dance company. Similarly, Dream creates a pathway for folks, young people, who might want to get into that and almost test out elements of expression that they have inside of them, that they can have a context where they can see it out and see it through.
Let me ask you, was dance, you said you got into it at 20.
Yeah.
Was it something as a child that appealed to you, but you were told you couldn't do and there was not a space for you? And how did you get past that? Who helped you decide at 20, you know what, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. I did. I started out as a writer and thinking about how to participate in the arts from the background, and that being a way that I could be included. But then two choreographers early in my career, Sean Curran and Heidi Latsky, they pretty much discovered me, and I danced with Heidi Latsky for 8 years after I met her. And her company is a physically integrated company here in the city. Similarly, I think that an invitation to participate is always going to be met with enthusiasm. And so if anyone kind of asking you, hey, I feel something that you have that I would love to involve into what I'm doing, I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
I couldn't say no.
And so when I say renowned choreographer, it sounds like you shouldn't say no.
Oh,
Do you
indeed.
have any idea that you have that gift in you?
I thought...
like singing in the shower.
Right.
Dance,
I said, "Oh, that movement's good." I was like, "Okay, yeah." I always knew I could move. I always knew I could flow. But I guess putting it into phrase work and having a perspective and going to different venues or contexts wherein I'm giving a full evening length piece, that was a surprise. But the reception I've received as an artist has been so overwhelming that I just had to continue to say yes.
Yeah.
And I think that I only hope to model and be an example of how the arts really change and increase confidence in a person.
Yeah.
We all have a POV, and we all have the opportunity to really, approach an audience with something from our mind's eye.
And I want to ask you, you've said something, there's a connection between blackness and disability in my work and in my art. Explain that to me.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I create works that do think about the perspective of blackness and disability because I am black and disabled. But similarly, there's such a complement of they complement each other in the sense that there's such a legacy of interdependence and of cross-solidarity in justice movements, of course, but also in culture, how we create winks and cultural touch tones that we think about as being black, or now also disability. And for example, I feel like we know how to strive as black people. We understand how to rise to the occasion and make meaning out of so little. Similarly, disability has that go-to, and we love to adapt. We love to adapt spaces to make things equitable for us, and we position ourselves in places that, you know, if we're a little bit fearful of what the outcome is, we change it. We shift the energy. And I think that both talk to each other in the sense that disability can allow us to think outside of late-stage capitalism and maybe slow down and think about the healthfulness of our body minds. And blackness teaches us how to react to our communities and be beautiful together.
And be who you are proudly. What's the Dream Project? Why do you think it is so important for young black children, particularly those who are dealing with disabilities, whatever they may be?
I've always thought, like, to be artful is to be excellent. And so when you are artful in anything, you are excellent at it. So exposure to the arts is a way in which you can see a pathway to being excellent. So when you become a CPA or a sanitation worker or a teacher, you are engaging in artfulness by being the most excellent aspect of that. And so I think that when you're exposed early on, you get a sense of confidence in that, and it passes through you for the rest of your life.
And one last question: what would you say, just to advice to a young person, especially, but really anyone that is looking at you and going, there's something they really want to do. Maybe they've been told that's not for them because whether they're dealing with cerebral palsy or something else, they're saying, well, no. What do you say to them if they've got that desire?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty is I get some really exciting DMs from families and young people with my same disability, with cerebral palsy, and I encourage them to be curious. And curiosity toward the thing that you desire is like how you get past the no's and the obstacles that confront you, because curiosity will go beyond the no's and go beyond any other blockades that you get. And I say stay curious and figure out how you might do it.
And go for it.
And go for it.
So I want to let everybody know before I let you go that you guys have a fundraiser, the nationaldance.org. Nationaldance.org is the website for the National Dance Institute. On that website, you can find tickets to that fundraising gala, April 27th. At the Ziegfeld Ballroom. Also, this is an important organization, so if you want to support them, want to see what they do, that's also at the website, right? Nationaldance.org. Tickets still available for the gala. You're going to get a chance to see you?
Oh, indeed. I'm premiering my piece at the gala. Yes.
Enough reason to be there. April 27th. Thank you so much.
What
a pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure.
Maybe you can teach me a few moves.
Oh, wait, 5, 6, 7, 8.
All right. Okay, let's just wait. We'll be right back. The 43rd annual McDonald's Gospel Fest will, without a doubt, lift your spirits. The competition showcases some of the most powerful local voices, along with popular gospel artists. And this year's powerhouse lineup includes Grammy Award winners, the Clark Sisters, Jennifer Holliday, and Leandria Johnson. Joining us today is the Emmy Award-winning producer and director of McDonald's Gospel Fest, A. Curtis Farrow.
Hello, how are you?
So nice to see you.
You too, it's a pleasure.
4 decades you've been doing this.
4 decades, can you believe it? It is amazing what God has done.
And so what is the secret?
I think the secret is God. It really is. The secret is, you know, people always ask me, why do you do this? What is it all about? I was like, you know what? I asked for it. I said, God, give me something that has to do with you. So it is of him, for him, and by him. That's really the secret sauce.
And so when you put together Gospel Fest, you know, what are your intentions? Do you feel like every year you have to surpass what you did the year before?
You know, it's funny. I used to feel that. But now with this digital age, you know, I'm learning from the young people. So I feel every year we need to tweak it so that we become more and more digital friendly. We used to do, like we would do the auditions at Madison Square Garden, and we'd have 20,000 people show up for the auditions. That doesn't work like that anymore, because now all of the kids think they're stars because they have friends who follow them, you know what I'm saying? And they do everything online. So now we get submissions online from a digital standpoint. So that has really changed how we kind of our process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when? Okay, so we're working up to this year's, which is in May.
Yes, Mother's Day weekend. We are Mother's Day weekend staple.
Yeah, exactly. Something to take Mama to, and she's going to be happy you did.
Be happy.
But so we get past this year. How quickly do you have to start putting together the talent for the next year?
We do it immediately. As a matter of fact, we start working on that even while we're producing this year's show.
Yeah.
And because we've become global. So last year, the winning choir for the first time in McDonald's Gospel Fest history was from Japan. 100-voice choir from Japan. This year, they're bringing 200 voices.
Same choir?
Same choir. Yeah, so I've told all of the choirs
like
here, I was like, y'all better not let them win this year. I don't mean it in a bad way.
No, I understand exactly what you
yes.
mean, but that is fantastic because that really speaks to the reach.
Yes, it does. It speaks to the reach. It speaks, it's just like your jazz conversation. It speaks to the, that earnest, that real true spirit that you just can't explain.
What's the most difficult thing about putting this extravaganza together?
The most difficult thing, I would say, for me...
Or challenging.
The more challenging, okay. The most challenging thing for me is just the people. You become really a, people mover, and you have to be able to just deal with everybody's whatever.
Idiosyncrasies.
Yes, wherever they're coming from. That's usually the challenging thing, but I have really gotten to a point where I can just go through the whole thing like this. It used
after 4 decades.
Yes, it used to, at the end of it, I was on my way to Brazil the day after. No, my mother and them would always know. They come for it every year.
Yeah.
They knew that next morning I'd be at the airport with them going somewhere.
Just to relax.
Just to relax. But now it's pretty, and we've got a process, and I have a great team. I have a great team. When you have a great team, everyone on my team for the most part has been with me now for more than 20 years.
Okay, so everybody
they don't
knows
go anywhere.
what they're doing?
Yes.
They know how you like it?
They know how we like it. And yes.
Okay, you keep saying we. They know how you like it. So,
yes.
Look, what is it, because you could have done anything here, what is it about gospel music that makes this just the perfect showcase? And why gospel as opposed to something else?
Well, I think because gospel music speaks to who we are, how we got to this country, how we got over the waters, how we got through the fields, how we got through that process to the today. So gospel music it's one of that lineage can never be broken. And that lineage, it's got something, I have friends who don't really go to church anymore. And it's the strangest thing, but when I have them and they'll come one Sunday with me, I look over, they're crying.
Oh yeah.
And I leave and they're like, wow, I needed that. It's just such a deepness. God itself, the Holy Spirit, let me call it what it is. The Holy Spirit is so strong that it is something that will be eternal. It's eternal.
Yeah, it's still speaking to people.
It still speaks to people.
So talk to me about this year's show. I mentioned some of the names that were going to be in it,
Yes, the Clark sisters.
Dropping, the Clark sisters.
Yes, the
Jennifer Holliday. We're talking
Jennifer
about
Holliday,
big
which we're so happy about. So, we were at Prudential, the big arena, and for years people have been begging me, bring it back to New York, even though it's the tri-state.
Yeah.
They're like, bring it back to New York. So this year we're really back in New York. So we're down on Broadway, we're down in Times Square at the Palladium in a Broadway theater, and we have the Clark sisters who are incredible, and Leandra Johnson. But what we're really excited about is we're bringing back Jennifer Holliday with a choir behind her, and it is going to be amazing. She's historic because she's the reason that they changed intermissions on Broadway, because when she would finish that "and I'm telling you I'm not going," the audience would be so loud that the other theaters could hear it.
Yeah.
So we're so happy. Jennifer Holliday is going to be there, and the Clark sisters. It's going to be just a magnificent time for every mother out there. Even if you're not a mother, anyone who loves gospel music, even as an art form, you want to come and be a part of it.
Yeah, and what I also love about it is it's not just the already famous people that are singing.
That's correct.
So I'm
That's
assuming
correct.
there's always a few people that just knock your socks off because you can't believe
Absolutely.
that voice came out of.
Absolutely. It's, you know, and everyone, especially everyone who lives in the black church community, who grew up in it, you always say, hey, I know a singer who can out-sing all of those people, you know, even though the folks have gotten fame.
No, you have to say they can sing.
Sang.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah,
they can sing. Really sang. Yes, yes. So no, and so we have praise dancers, we have soloists, we have male soloists, female soloists, the choirs, rappers, poets. So we have those different categories. You will enjoy it. People come and people love it. And a lot of people come and they don't expect that. They only expect the stars. So when they get the community part of it.
Icing on the cake.
Yeah, the icing on the cake. And I've even had people real quickly who've come and they brought their kids and they were like, my kid was having a problem, but once they saw the praise dancing, I left and they said, I want to praise dance.
Yeah.
You know, so
so you find that thing that reaches.
Yes,
that's something that reaches everyone.
Yes, yes. And it's all about young people.
Yeah.
The great thing is McDonald's has still been pouring back into the community with this program. And at the end of the day, that's why it was started, was for young people.
Yeah, and 43 years later, is that what? And we also should add that you have earned 3 Emmy Awards. You've been nominated 16 times. And among the legends you've worked with, Aretha Franklin, Dionne Warwick, and Kirk Franklin. So you're not playing. You know what you're doing.
I try.
And it's Saturday, May 9th, and Sunday, May 10th,
Correct.
right?
We're doing a Broadway schedule.
Yeah, a Broadway schedule.
Right.
The Palladium Theater in Times Square.
Yes.
And if you are interested in tickets to this absolutely fantastic show, you won't be disappointed, palladiumtimesquare.com. And you can take a look at whichever show you think will work best for your schedule.
Yes, please come.
Thank you so much.
No,
for seeing,
thank you.
You know,
you look phenomenal.
Always bring the fun.
Oh,
you always
man.
bring the fun.
Hey, well, thank you, thank you.
McDonald's Gospel Fest.
Yes, we're so proud of you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Hey, I'm old. I should be doing something right, right? Thank you very much. Have a great production.
I keep telling the folks I'm the OG now.
Okay. That makes it sound good.
Yes, it makes it sound good.
We'll be right back. One of the most respected jazz stations in the country, WBGO, and the Jazz Power Initiative are striking what you might call a familiar chord, preserving, presenting, and teaching jazz. Well, now these two publicly funded institutions are announcing a new partnership to advance their shared mission. Here to tell us more is the co-founder and managing artistic director of Jazz Power Initiative, Dr. Eli Yemen, a.k.a. Dr. E. I think I said that right, along with the president and CEO of WBGO Jazz 88, Stephen A. Williams. It is a pleasure to meet you, gentlemen.
Likewise.
Great to see
really.
you.
Likewise. Thank you. It's an honor to be
Okay,
here.
so I'm going to give you both a chance to talk about what you each do separately.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about what you're hoping this partnership is going to be able to do for the two of you. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. E.
Sure.
Jazz Power Initiative.
Yes. We are a nonprofit organization based in Inwood, and we serve primarily Inwood, Washington Heights, and Harlem with free youth education music classes. And we also do community concerts, and we train teachers. And we've been at it for 22 years, reached almost 10,000 students, 50,000 audience members, and over 1,000 teachers. And we're very excited to be moving into a new theater uptown in October, and starting this partnership with WBGO.
And the idea here is to bring young people, young audiences to this truly American music form.
Yes, I grew up listening to WBGO, and I fell in love with jazz. I ended up working there. I wanted to bring that kind of experience to our young people uptown because I realized they just didn't have access to this incredible treasure that comes from African American and Latin American culture. So especially in the neighborhoods where those kids are, those families are, need to have access. So I have a lot of friends, great jazz musicians, and we've worked together over the years to just make jazz be in the water uptown, so that the children and everybody else can drink.
Yeah, and it keeps growing.
Yes.
And Stephen, WBGO is like sacred to so many people here. Seriously, you know that.
Yeah, I do know that.
You've been there.
It's quite an honor to be at the helm at WBGO. I've been there this will be my 5th year. I just started my 5th year there. I came on board at the tail end of the pandemic. Actually, I have an interesting history with BGO. I was the program director there for about 3 years, from 2015 to 2018. Left town, moved to Seattle, and thought I was going to retire in Seattle. And then I got the call to come back at the height of the pandemic, which was really a difficult time for everybody, not to mention media organizations. And even ones like WBGO, which legacy organizations, were struggling. But we came back, and I'm happy to say that things are a lot better than they were when I started 5 years ago.
Which is good news for all of us.
Yes.
If you will, just look, I know what I think is special about WBGO. Why has it last so long? Why is it one of those... just knowing it's there, I think, for a lot of people. You hop in the cab, what are they playing? WBGO.
That's a very good point. And it's a well-known fact that we are the taxi driver's first choice for listening to music. I think WBGO's longevity is due in significant measure to the uniqueness of our mission and of our place in the world, not just the city of New York, the #1 media market in the country, but in our world. For 47 years, WBGO has continued to provide the same community service and artistic validation for millions and millions of listeners, not just here, but around the world. WBGO, and this is not a conceit, WBGO is the leading jazz media organization in the world. You can go, I have traveled far and wide all over the world and have met people who are familiar with this radio station. So I think that familiarity and that the treasure of WBGO is due to our longevity and the fact that we have consistently provided that forever. And when you look at media organizations, radio stations, television stations, not many of them, even in a city like New York where there are 60 or 65 signals, not many of them, maybe a handful, are still doing what they were when they signed on the air, and BGO is certainly one of them.
So talk to me about what you two keepers of the flame are hoping to do together, because you are on the same mission, maybe parallel missions in a way, but now you've decided that with this partnership, I guess you're going to be a little bit stronger together.
Yes, we can amplify each other's work. I mean, my kids don't really listen to the radio right now, but they're starting because we're introducing them to WBGO. We're going to have WBGO partnering with us to table at some of our events, such as April 18th at the Harlem School of the Arts. We're doing We Got That Swing, where we'll be showcasing youth involvement in jazz uptown. So there'll be many ways that we can kind of amplify each other's efforts, and we're looking forward to that opportunity.
Indeed. Listen, collaboration is elemental in jazz music. You know, musicians get on stage. The essence of what they create is the collaboration, the collaborative spirit. So it makes there are a lot of things in the world that don't make sense. This makes sense. This makes a lot of sense for us to be working together and to, as you say, Eli, wonderful word, amplify each other's efforts. And the only thing, it's amazing that we haven't done this before now, right? Because it really does fit like a glove, the work the two of us do. And
as I mentioned, I grew up in New Jersey listening to BGO. That's how I learned about the music. I used to sit on I'm taking my mother's yellow pad, sit on the couch, take notes from Rhonda Hamilton and James Brown and Michael Anderson and Gary Walker, and my heroes, learn about the music. And so that planted a seed in me. How can I do the kind of work that BGO does? How can I create spaces for community to come together in jazz. How can I create spaces for young people to taste the magic of the music?
Yeah, and it is highly likely that some of those young people that you're working with, teaching, bringing along, in 20 years, maybe less, they'll be sitting
You're
where you're
absolutely
sitting.
right about that. Or they'll be on a bandstand somewhere playing, because we know that story as well, right? Where there are many musicians who started their journey in jazz through their parents' influences by listening to WBGO, right? There are many musicians that say, hey, in fact, I have, there was one young man by the name of Matthew Whitaker, and he's a rising jazz musician. His parents are longtime fans of WBGO, and in fact, his mother says, oh, Matthew heard the radio station in the womb. You know what I mean? So it started, you know, it started at the beginning, and we hear that story time and time again.
So you are actually going to be honored by, okay, this is now getting real incestuous. Stephen, you're going to be honored. What is the date? Is it May?
May 14th.
May 14th.
Yep.
You are going to receive the Syncopated Partnership, the Rothman Family Syncopated Partnership Award from Jazz Power Initiative, correct?
That's right. That's
Now,
right.
why would you think this guy is worthy of that award?
Well, his life of service to jazz. And, you know, we have to honor the people who are heroes and sheroes of this music, who lift it up, who understand its value, and have dedicated their lives to making sure it's available in our community, because jazz is a work of love. People don't go into jazz and make a lot of money.
No,
you
have to
can make
love
a
it.
living. You can make a living. I want the parents to know that. It's not that you can't make a living. You
Make a
can, because
living.
I have parents saying to me, my son's going into jazz. What are you going to do? Tell him to convince him out of it. I said, listen, it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of places to work, but it's not about the money for us. It is about the purpose. And it's a powerful purpose that Steve has committed his life to, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's interesting that jazz has been sort of a magnet for me for many, many years. I've been in radio for over 50 years. I've lived in many cities, and although I consider myself to be a broadcaster first, a lot of what I've done in broadcasting has to do with jazz, and I'll go away and work at a news radio station for a few years, and then somehow or another I wind up back in a jazz radio situation. So I think it's been very fundamental for me to have this connection. And this actually, if it were not for WBGO, you wouldn't be recognizing me. What you're recognizing really is the strength and the influence that WBGO has had on people like me, jazz as well, people like me and people all over the world. And this also comes at a propitious time for the organization, because we are about 50 or 60% through constructing a $12 million, a brand new $12 million facility. We've been in the same building since the inception of the radio station 47 years ago, and so this exciting time for us is accentuated by this honor, which I consider to be not just for me, but also for WBGO.
And now that is, and also May 14th, that's a fundraiser, right?
Yes.
Hosted by 11-time Grammy Award winner Christian McBride, who has been a guest on this show.
And he works for us as well. He also works for WBGO.
Yeah, he got a lot of jobs. So you're right. You can make a living.
It's true.
You got to work, but you're doing what you love.
That's
right.
That's
and
right.
that event is May 14th at Symphony Space on
right.
Manhattan's Upper West Side, 250 West 95th Street in Manhattan. I'm going to send folks to your websites, jazzpower.org.
That's right.
And WBGO.org. And I have one question more before I let the two of you go. I understand that you're working on a project, perhaps with the UN.
Yes.
Am I getting that right?
Yes. We have established a relationship with the United Nations that involves jazz performance and jazz education, jazz thought. We recently had a very successful Women's History Month presentation at the UN a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to extend that relationship to International Jazz Day, which takes place on April 30th, and we have invited Eli and some of his students to join us in that celebration of International Jazz Day, and we're really excited about it. We've just talked about a little bit about it today. It's all still coming into focus. Okay. But yeah, that's just one of many things that we'll be doing together now that we finally figured out that we can work together. And,
yes, indeed.
It sounds like it's going to be a good marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'd like to also just add that we're also honoring the great saxophonist Lakeisha Benjamin at our event.
That's right.
And she is a 6-time Grammy nominee, and she's from Washington Heights, and she's worked with us many years.
Girl.
So we love Lakeisha. And also our city council member, Carmen De La Rosa, who's been a champion of arts and culture. So she'll be getting our Miranda Family Champion of Arts and Culture Award.
All right. And again, that fundraising event, May 14th at Symphony Space.
Syncopated celebration.
Everything has to do with music, right? Jazzpower.org, WBGO.org. More information about both of you there.
Yes.
Okay, and
yes,
how
indeed.
you can support this important work that you guys are doing.
Well, we love everybody to join us because it's a great party.
I hear a little bit of New Orleans in your voice, but you're from Jersey, right?
Well, it's the South, you know.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll be right back. A new Prime Video documentary, Meal Ticket, chronicles a basketball tradition, the McDonald's All-American Games, which showcases elite high school players. It's the same court where legends like Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kobe Bryant, just to name a few, proved they got game.
I don't care what any player ever accomplishes. They could be a champion and a Hall of Famer. But when they talk about things that they accomplished in their basketball career, everybody's going to mention being a McDonald's High School All-American.
If I play my cards right, I'll be looking at my... This really is my one way out. Without basketball, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
The #1 event to evaluate kids pre-draft is the McDonald's All-American Games.
If you shined in the McDonald's All-American Game, there was a path to the NBA.
Joining us now are the co-directors of Meal Ticket, Corey Colvin and Carlton Gerard Sabbs. Thank you both for joining us this afternoon.
Great pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
I'm going to put this question to both of you so you can answer either way you want. What led you to this project? I know you guys work as a team. Why was this a project that you wanted to work on?
Corey, you can go.
So, all right. So yeah, like you said, working as a team, Carlton and I started our production company in 2018. And, you know, we worked our way up doing commercials. Well, started music videos, commercials, editorial, and we got into short form. But then we had this amazing opportunity come our way to be considered to direct our first feature-length film. And as we learned more about it, we found out that it was about telling the history of the McDonald's All-American, which was amazing because when you think about how long the game's been going on, no one's ever told this story before. So when it came our way from some guys who mentor us by the name of Hootie and Chike, a record duo, we just got really excited about it, and we started production pretty much immediately.
Yeah, it's always nice to work on a project that gets you excited. Let me ask you, Carlton, are you a big basketball fan? So was this project right in your wheelhouse?
Absolutely. You know, I didn't play growing up because I wasn't that good in Chicago, but sports fanatic since I was a little kid, and I've always followed the game. Actually went to one in like 2011. So when the story came across our desk to give us the opportunity to actually, you know, film this and tell this 45+ year story, I mean, it was a dream come through. Because it's a lot of pressure for one, so the challenge was exciting to take on. But then you just think about, we were very confident in our voice as storytellers that we would be able to bring it, like to manage the integrity of the culture in it, shine some light on some people that maybe haven't and should be more, you know, put on a higher platform. And it's been a great opportunity. So it's been an amazing film.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are going to be waiting to see this, excited to see this film. Let me ask you, Corey, the name, Meal Ticket.
Yeah, so when Carlton and I were talking about it, we had, we started to put our lists together. And it was just something when we landed on Meal Ticket, how it checked so many boxes, no pun intended, but it was like when you're growing up as a kid, you think about going to McDonald's and getting a Happy Meal, or McDonald's and just ordering your favorite meal. And then it's like, from us being music fans and like hip hop culture, there was always that term like, somebody's meal ticket. A skill set, a gift that they have to be able to lack of a better word, hustle your way up out of a situation. And when you think about it, that the side of these are kids who play in the game. These are 17, 18-year-old seniors in high school, and this is their meal ticket. That's kind of like how we landed on that.
Yeah, no, I think it's quite apropos. Let me ask you, Carlton. Look, we mentioned some of the names: Kobe, Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, LeBron James, and you just mentioned a few minutes ago that there are some folks that you believe you highlight in your film that probably aren't getting the press, the credit maybe that they deserve. Talk to me a little bit about some of those stars that that we talk about, that we see talked about in the film. That you think deserve a little bit more of the spotlight than perhaps they're getting these days?
Oh, absolutely. There's players that were legends in their time. Maybe you really haven't seen them in certain films, like, Dominique Wilkins, Alonzo Mourning, Chris Mullin. These are nostalgic names and figures. But I think most importantly, the founder of the game is something that Corey and I discovered in the process of working on the film, where he was just a sports promoter out of D.C. that no one knew about, but he started this game. He first started off as the D.C. versus the World, as the Capital City Classic, and then McDonald's catches wind. They come on as a sponsor, and then he finds out about this coach Morgan Wooten and the legendary John Wooden from UCLA. And he put them in the forefront, and they were basically the faces of the game, but behind the scenes, he was the founder. And for the game lasted beyond him, it's 50 years now, and no one knows who he is. And Corey and I, as we worked on this story and bring it to life, we were like, if anything comes out of this, if this guy gets, into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, it would be an accomplishment.
Yeah, it sounds great, and it's wonderful to work on the project where you're actually shining a spotlight on something that most people, like you said, probably didn't even know. Can I ask you, Corey, are there any spectacular moment from the McDonald's All-American game that you highlight in your film that you can tell us about?
Yeah, it's actually a lot.
I know. So you got to pick one or two.
Like one or two, but like Carlton and I telling the story, it was something that we were met with. Like he said, the game's been going on for 50 years, and trying to condense all of that history down to where we are with the 95-minute runtime. But there's so many big moments. Like you have Michael Jordan, who was able to hit a game-winning shot before he actually did it when he made it at North Carolina in the championship. And then you have Shaquille O'Neal, like the Shaquille O'Neal coast-to-coast moment where people were just like, that was their first time seeing a big guy move the way that he moved up and down that court.
There are so many wonderful moments when you're watching these players, and I think if both of you could just sum up for me why this game is still so important when it comes to basketball, and especially for these young players. I mean, look, these days the word starts to get out early, you know, on spectacular players. But why is this still such an important game for these youngsters?
You know, I'll say it. For one, it's a rite of passage for these players still because of the legends that have been a part of it. And if you want to become a legend, this is the first mark in your career that you have to basically live up to the standards of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Candace Parker, right? But also when you think of the numbers of it, right? It's 200,000 seniors in America, okay? And then it gets broken down to like 100 of them keep letters to become a McDonald's All-American. So they're saying, we're watching you for your senior year. And then that number gets broken down to 24. So out of 200,000, you're the final 24. And that just, it means it's the biggest stage. Everybody has done it. And I feel like kids personally still do it to this day because people they looked up to did it.
Yep, and it's still, you kind of know you got to be among the best of the best. I'm so excited for the two of you because I know it's a big project, one of your first full-length film. Meal Ticket is streaming exclusively now on Prime Video. It is definitely worth the watch. Carlton, Corey, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck. I suspect we are going to see more of you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be right back. Thank you for joining us on Here and Now. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can watch at abc7ny.com/Here and Now or listen to our podcast wherever you subscribe. If you'd like to comment or share your story, email us at hereandnow@wabc.com or follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Sandra Bookman. Enjoy the rest of your day.